Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Scream if you want to go faster.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap to thought.
Yes! Oh, my shoulder clicked. I'm getting old. A ruddy win. It's nice, isn't it? 3 points. A late comeback, which, by the way, is apparently the first time in literally a year Chelsea have won a game. And Fulham are good. Yeah, this is a Chelsea news video, but I just want to take a moment, enjoy it, bask in it. Fulham are good. They did beat Liverpool last home game. That's Liverpool's their only away defeat all season. Their second defeat all season, Liverpool. It was a good win. Do we trust this Chelsea team? I'm going to speak for the fan base and say no. But do we want to have our trust earned? Yes. But welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I do hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. And welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the nearly daily series here on the channel, where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it. But more importantly, as always, asking for yours today. I do want to reflect on what Big Orny said. David Ornstein, for me, is the leading authority on transfers. I think he's better than Fabrizio Romano. I think he does choose what stories to do. He often gets the biggest and best first. And Romano is obviously great. He's a brand. He makes dem peas as well. But I don't know. There's something in a good way, statesmanly about Ornstein. I like him. Though I must say, and I'm going to get this out early doors in the video, that NBC clip, which we are going to cite today and talk about the transfer targets of Chelsea confirmed by him, whether you like that or not. Yeah. He is giving, paid off by Chelsea. They're not paid off by Chelsea. I'm sure he wouldn't take money off him because he will just take information. But just everything he's saying, he's just waxing lyrical about Chelsea. How there's no rule. We'll talk about Van Dijk as well. There's no rule, of seniority. They do like signing young players, but they will sign old players, and they're very happy. And Chelsea are very good, and they're going in the right direction. And everyone's jealous of Chelsea, and lots of other teams are bigger admirers of Maresca. Now, this all may be true, but and this was before the Fulham win, by the way. When you're in the trenches, and this big shiny journalist comes out and saying, Chelsea's wicked. Everyone loves Chelsea. It's a bit like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, but it could be true. Certainly, I imagine the transfer targets are true. We're going to go through those. And look, other clubs could be huge admirers of Maresca. That could, of course, be true. And I thought about it this morning while on my run. I was like, is that just, the club saying everyone likes Maresca? Or, certainly some clubs would be interested in Enzo Maresca because he's, there is a thing about being a disciple of Pep Guardiola. Clubs seem to like that. He, in his first full proper league season, he won the title. The championship's got to be a top 7 league, 8 league. Let's maybe top 8 league and definitely top 10. And he won that title first asking, and they've gone straight back down without him. That is an achievement in terms of clubs looking, Brighton, a good Premier League team, hired a Bundesliga's second division coach. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking, okay, and he has done some good stuff with Chelsea. The players seem to like him. They do seem to be impressed internally. I'm not going to nail my colours to the Maresca Masters, certainly as much as I did, but I was thinking, yeah, all right, teams might like him. Other clubs might like him. Fine. But there was some other interesting stuff Ornstein says. Centre-back targets, I do want to look at a couple, actually, that we've been linked with that I do think, that's not Mark Gurhey or Dean Howson, who, of course, we've both been linked with as well. I want to show you the stats of, Jarrad Brantford, who Manchester United were desperate to sign, but Everton kept waving them away with £78 million quotes for him. Be very interesting to see what happens there. I imagine he'd be more keen to come to Chelsea than Man United, purely on where both teams are. Unless, of course, Man United win the Europa League and Chelsea don't qualify for Europe. Then he'll probably want to go to United, which could, by the way, very much happen. But Ornstein, when he was going off about a lot of this stuff, he spoke about Virgil van Dijk. I know. So he says there's no rule. There's no rule with the ages. So he said 33-year-old Virgil van Dijk, Chelsea made an inquiry about signing him. Okay, he would have been a free transfer. It turns out he just wanted to stay at Liverpool, and Liverpool gave him £400,000 a week. £400,000 a week, which is a great time to plug my second channel because I spoke about this. Football Yannick. That's my second YouTube channel. I've been speaking about, the De Bruyne controversy of City pushing him out, the crazy contract for Van Dijk. It's non-Chelsea content. There'll be a link in the top of the description. Go check it out. So I can't for a second imagine my club, Chelsea Football Club, paying £400,000 a week. But he says there was interest from Chelsea in signing Virgil van Dijk had it become available. But ultimately, he only asked for Liverpool, fine. And that shows this is obviously an Ornstein quote, by the way, there is no rule on signing only under 23 players at Stamford Bridge, as some have suggested. Yes, their recruitment has been young. They've got the youngest average squad in the Premier League this season, and I think they're looking for impact players, whether that be young or indeed older. And that's where somebody like Van Dijk's caliber would fit in. It's not about them being older and more experienced. It's about their quality. It would have been very funny if Van Dijk pulled up at Chelsea for a little while. I'd feel very uncomfortable about paying Van Dijk £400,000 a week at my club to drop him in, and for him to be like pulled apart sometimes like he can do in the Prem. Again, I think he's I think he's an iconic defender of this time, but I don't put him with, the JTs and the Rio Ferdinands and like that. I don't, because I feel like the only time that Van Dijk's played to that level was an 18-month period. Hardly longevity like the greats. Look, maybe the Chelsea players, the young Chelsea players, are all on 70 to 120k a week. They'd see a Champions League winner, a Premier League winner, a very, very senior captain like Virgil van Dijk come into the team and be like, all right, yeah, pay him whatever. We're just kids. La 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 la. But if you pay Nonny more than me, I'm gonna cry, sort of thing. But I think maybe they'd accept someone like him coming in getting crazy money. I would not feel comfortable about paying that kind of crazy money. Still, if true, and again, this is, for me, I'm becoming more cynical with time. I just feel like Chelsea's pouring, information into Ornstein's ear, which might be true, and they might be telling the truth, but it's tough. It's tough when things are going so bad. But we have been linked. I did a video about it 2 days ago to Kim Min-jae, of course, the once Napoli, now Barcelona senior centre-back, late 20s, which I'm starting to think, they've analysed the landscape of this season, looked at the weaknesses, mental frailty, lack of experience being maybe the biggest, finishing. Literally, goalkeeper, I'm not going to spend time ragging on Sanchez because it's like an old record with me. A different goalkeeper, Petrovic, fine, I'll take it. Just bring him back. But yeah, finishers and a bit of experience to just put your foot on the ball and be like, calm down, lads, this is all right. Do you know what I mean? And I think, hopefully, touch wood, cross everything, that the guys running Chelsea have been like, all right, we'll bring a bit of that in. All right, then. So we are going to talk about transfer targets, and I'm going to show you some stats for defenders. So in this NBC interview, he spoke about targets. He looked very smart in his suit. Actually looked like he had a really big head. I thought maybe it was like the angle like this, and his body looked quite small with his little tie. I don't know why I'm telling you that, but maybe I was on drugs or something. Right, so he did say on NBC Sports, he listed a long list of Chelsea targets, and I'm going to go through those now, just after I sip my coffee. Right, let's go. I'm citing this from footballtransfers.com. Speaking during an appearance on NBC Sports, Ornstein rattled off a long list of Chelsea players players Chelsea are keen on keeping tabs ahead of the summer. By the way, trigger warning, trigger warning, guys, there will be a Garnacho in here now. Just make sure you're sitting down. Of course, we're looking to bolster the side with a centre forward, a winger, and a centre back. which, yeah. Okay. For the number 9, the journalist name-dropped well-known Blues targets and Liam Delap and Benjamin Sesko, while he also added Eintracht Frankfurt star Ugo Ekitike, whose price tag has just been raised to 100 million euros, an option Chelsea are considering. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's just reel off these names quickly. On the wings, the likes of Nico Williams would love, by the way, but yeah, you're talking about wages. I said just a couple of minutes ago, the youngsters in this Chelsea squad might be like, okay, you can pay Van Dijk that much, but you bring in one of their peers in terms of age profile in Nico Williams and say, yeah, we're just going to give this kid for like 250k a week, but Nonny, you're on 60k a week or 70. That ain't gonna wash, bro. You know, I'd love for Nico Williams, and if we do pay him that money, whatever. I'll worry about the squad harmony later and just get excited about the exciting left winger. But yeah, unless he agrees, because obviously Athletic Bilbao are because they bring in their own, they don't pay transfer fees. They end up paying their players really high wages, which actually can price them out of moves. Yeah, Nico Williams. Alejandro Garnacho, who, by the way, I don't hate. I know he's like a banter meme player. I see a lot of offensive value. Yesterday he put in 3 amazing balls against Wolverhampton Wanderers and just no one finished them. I do think he's got a much higher ceiling than he's showing, although I understand he would not be a sexy signing for Chelsea. Jamie Gittins as well. So they're the 3 wingers. Ornstein has said Nico Williams seems a bit star-eyed, Alejandro Garnacho, and Jamie Gittins. I mean, I think Garnacho would probably, because of the Man United thing and this, that, and the other. If we sign one of Jamie Gittins or Nico Williams as a winger, and these are the 3 men he's part Garnacho. These are the 3 men he's like said. You mean you'd be? I mean, I don't want to speak for Chelsea, any Chelsea fans, but if you said, right, we need an extra left winger, it's going to be Gittins or Williams, I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, right. Considering the current landscape of available young wingers, that's good. Maybe, of course, it's worth taking a second to talk about Jadon Sancho, because we've now automatically triggered the obligation to buy him because we can't finish lower than 14th now. We'll see what happens. Of course, he had 4 goals and assists in the previous 4 games before the Fulham comeback. He will cost £25 million if he agrees to do a really, really affordable, structured wage packet. Then I actually think it would still be quite a good signing, Jadon Sancho, as a rotational option. He seems to be training professionally, have a good attitude, which of course he hasn't always necessarily had at Dortmund or Man United. He seems to have sorted his professional work life out. Do you know what I mean? So I could probably be very happy with him to be a rotational option, and if Chelsea are, but I wouldn't necessarily want to rely on him as a starting left winger moving forwards. Yes, so wingers. Particularly intriguing names Ornstein has mentioned for the defence. Of course, we know the well-known targets. Mark Guehi, who I'd really like because he's the captain of Crystal Palace. He's mid-20s, despite being so young, he's still a captain. We need leadership. Dean Howson, that would be a big coup, considering, Real Madrid are very interested in him. But he's a 19-year-old, I believe. So, again, you're not getting leadership. You're getting 1 good season at Bournemouth. And do you want to throw 50 million at that? I mean, clubs and the streets are saying 50 million is good value for Howson. Out of the 2, I'd probably go for Guehi, maybe because I've got Cobham bias, and I think he'd bring leadership. So Ornstein, also mentioned the likes of Jarell Hatto, and then Premier League duo Jarrad Branthwaite and Murillo. And we're going to look at those stats in just a moment. I just quickly want to speak on Ugo Ekitike, because I've very much been quite consistent on, although I recognise Liam Delap's not the sexiest signing, what I've watched him do in the Premier League, I've been like, yeah, that would just make us way better. Of course, the 2-2 draw we had with Ipswich, if we had their goalkeeper and their striker, a team bound for relegation, not only would we have taken 6 points from Ipswich this season, say if they had them too, but if we had that level of quality, I think we'd genuinely be comfortably in the top 4. and that is a relegation side striker and goalkeeper. Think about that. But yeah, Hugo Ekitike, he is exciting. Very, very interesting to say Ornstein, to hear Ornstein is spoken about him, because of course a lot of teams are looking at him. It did seem like Chelsea were, are we going to bring up this romance with Victor Osimhen again? Is he going to go to Saudi Arabia? Do you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. And is it just Delap or bust? But to hear, because Delap's going to cost 30 million. 30 million. Hugo Ekitike is going to cost 100 million. So, just hearing those numbers, you might be like, well, Delap, we've seen him play in the Prem, he's good, and it's less than a third of what Ekitike is going to cost. Or maybe about a third if you talk about the conversion rate from euros to pounds. So yeah, I get that, but it shows ambition that they will go in for an £100 million striker. Because remember, like, the Victors won't cost 100 million. Gyökeres might cost like 60 to 80. Osimhen's would be about 60, but his wages would be very, very high. His wage demands are very, very high. So yeah, it shows the ambition that they're going to go for. They will spend a lot of money, I think, regardless of Champions League qualification, which is interesting. Righty-ho then, so we've spoken about centre-backs, but I want to look at a couple of Premier League ballers. Jared Brantwaite, who, for my money, should be in the England team, probably will get back in. As you can see here, he's only 22 years old. He is a left-footer. So, your Badia Shields getting what? Your Levi Coles are safe, aren't they? But, like, your Badia Shields might be thinking, oh dear. Very good at passing, very good at aerials, but we're going to look at his advanced stats, and then we're going to look at Murillo, who might be a little bit more of the exotic, sexy of the two. Of course, Murillo is currently in the top 5 in the Premier League. Here we go. So his polar chart's pretty not great. Chance. So yeah, he's not really moving me much, I must say already. Chance creation, understandably shooting. It's not great, but this is, of course, in comparison to other centre-backs. So he's low. He's not effective as a centre-back in terms of goal scoring. His chance creation is low. His progression isn't great. His duels, let's have a look here. This is what you're looking at as a centre-back. Okay, he's good. His aerial, defensive area. So, okay, aerial ELO rating optimization, which is, of course, the sexiest term that we know. Very strong in duels, which is what you want. And defensive, I mean, to be honest, defensive action, his percentage of XG blocked is quite good. It's probably worth mentioning. Look at this. I'm starting to worry about this Brantwaite link, because look, he's ranked 32, just above Ethan Pinnock in his profile of centre-back. A little bit worrying. So let's move over to Murillo, who of course plays for Nottingham Forest, is also 22 years old, and also a left footer. Let's have a look here. Very good ball stopper. So Murillo, we're hoping, has better and stronger stats for reference. Oh, that's a bit better here. XG blocked, much better. Tackle win percentage, much better. Let's look at his stats per 90. Again, not much of a goal scoring centre-back. Not much of a chance creating centre-back. A little bit better in terms of progression. Good with duels again. And defense. I mean, look at this. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. That is money right there. Percentage of XG blocks, 8.9, nearly 9 per 90. No one's better. No one is better. No one. Nothing compares to Murillo. We've been linked to him for a while, actually. And a lot of Chelsea fans were interested and excited from those links. Must say, out of the two, yeah, I would go with the Brazilian. He is Brazilian, yes he is. I thought I was going to make myself look like a complete pen 15 there. No, he's Brazilian. Yeah, I mean, I like Jared Brantwaite, but I think maybe he's obviously had injury problems, this, that, and the other. If I had to rank centre-backs, I would go probably Gerhi Hausen, Murillo, and then whoever after. The only thing is with Hausen, you bring in a teenager when you want leadership at the back. I do think Petrovic will bring a steadier vibe at the back, but yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think. Please do leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section. Thank you as always for liking and subscribing to this channel, Football Therapy. I'll be here always for you, my friend, and hopefully, through better times. All right, peace.